Hello marketers, and welcome to another webinar brought to you by Web Talent Marketing. Today we're going to talk about 5 must-have e-commerce Google Analytics reports. We are Web Talent Marketing. We are a boutique digital marketing agency. My name is Justin Emig. I am our Director of Search Marketing. I spent a lot of time in analytics, really just trying to carve out the data and really just allow the data to tell stories. And I create a lot of dashboards and a lot of custom reports for our clients. And today I want to share some of those reports that I have created, and they'll be able to provide you insight into your business. The first one I want to talk about is Customer Acquisition Report. This particular report is useful because it combines 2 reports in Google Analytics to be able to share really just more insightful data at a really quick glance. This is meant to be a really high level report. It just tells you what your top line performance are. Good things that you can find in this particular report are if you're overly dependent upon one particular channel, or if you have a channel that is struggling and is just is going significantly worse than you would expect it to. Typical, a use case for this could be, let's say that you're overly dependent upon paid. Your CPC traffic is accounting for, let's say, over 70% of your sessions or your revenue, but your organic is struggling and it could potentially be under 10%. This will allow you to know, wow, we got to really work hard on, improving our organic visibility. Here's what the report looks like. And as you can see, it does focus on session-based data, and it basically combines the 2 reports of channel report within the acquisition area of Google Analytics, as well as the e-commerce performance report. So it has session-based data, so your sessions, your new sessions. It also has revenue, but then it adds average order value, and that's the one thing available in the e-commerce report that is not available in the default channel report. So it gives you really just a clean top-line view of what channels are performing well, which ones are struggling. As you can see from this example here, this particular report, they're pretty blended. There's not one channel that is driving, too large of a sessions or of a revenue percentage. So they're pretty blended, and as well as the average order value. This is one of those reports that I'd say is perfect for a good Monday morning meeting with your boss. So how's the site performed over the last week or the last month? And save yourself some time, and you can actually email this report to you automatically through the default email interface within Google Analytics custom report. So within there, you can email it to whoever you want, to your whole team, to yourself, in a PDF, an Excel, a CSV. It really makes it convenient, and it'll email to you, every day, whatever day that you want it to. In order for you to get the custom report that I've created, click on or write this down, this URL that's in here, and this will give you the template to that report that I just created. The next report we're going to talk about is Organic Search Landing Page Report. This particular report is really useful because it understands organic entrances, which are one of the most important things as it relates to your organic search performance. It allows you to kind of understand what are the first pages that users are getting to when they interact with your site. So, and again, is like most Google Analytics reports, you can combine this over previous week, month, quarter, year. And it really, the point of this report is to understand your highest value pages, the pages that consumers are entering in more often than not. And what you can do with this report is understand how those pages are performing well. You can say, are those pages contributing to revenue or are they not? If this is the first interaction of a consumer with your site, you want to make sure that that page is optimized the way that it should, as well as you can kind of, combine with the report I'll tell you here in a little bit, be able to determine what are the keywords that people are using to get to your site. The last great feature of this report is you can understand, again, those pages that you would consider, let's say, have a high value, high SEO value because they're earning a lot of organic entrances, and you would be able to utilize internal linking to pass some of that SEO value to pages that are struggling, but you would consider your quote-unquote money pages. Here's what the report looks like. And if you can see from the right, I blocked out the actual URL in this particular example, but it uses session-based data again, but it also has the new user data in there. So it'll take your sessions, your revenue, transactions, and it will be able to determine based on that landing page, how many new users is it earning, how is the sessions that it's earning, and then how much in revenue actually came from a user landing on that particular page. In this example, you can see that the home page is they're heavily reliant on the home page. It's producing 66% of their revenue. That is sessions that start on the home page. So this could tell me right off the top of my head that this particular client might be really heavily reliant on branded keywords. They generally are the ones that land on your home page. However, the conversion rate on those is not abnormally high. So usually if it's a really heavy branded SKU, that e-commerce conversion rate is going to be really high because they already know what they're looking for. So this report just allows you to kind of unpack, go a little bit further. What are the landing pages that do well from a session perspective? Do they also do well from a revenue and transaction perspective? And if you combine this report with the Google Search Console Search Analytics report, you'll be able to determine what queries, what keywords are actually driving traffic to those high-value landing pages. So as you know, many years back, Google implemented what we call the not provided update, where they took the organic keywords away from us. However, those still remain within Google Search Console. So if you combine these two reports, you can get a much better understanding of the keywords people are using in order to get to your particular site. And again, you can find this report through this URL. If you need to write these URLs down, just pause. Next, we're going to talk about device performance. This particular report is useful because we're in the age of mobile, and the consumer interaction between mobile, tablet, desktop is real. So we want to understand a little bit more about how users interact with various devices. And you can see some stats there from Google that 67% of consumers start on shopping on one device and continue on another. Consumers are at the point where they don't consider them two different devices. They're almost device agnostic. It's whatever the device is that's in front of them at the time is the most relevant for them. And again, 65% of online shopping starts on a smartphone. That doesn't mean it ends on a smartphone. So this particular report, look for things such as how are consumers engaging on various devices. Your conversion rate many times is going to be lower on mobile, but also look for the engagement metrics. Are bounces really high? Or is the very low time on site? This could shed some insight into something being wrong with your mobile experience. And then you can kind of unpack that further, do a little bit more digging. But this report gives you a quick little high-level understanding of how they're interacting on various devices. A nice little pro tip is if you add the user type secondary dimension, it'll be able to determine how your new users and your returning users also interact by device. So this will be able to, good way to determine this is that if you're new visitors from mobile, how they differ from returning visitors on mobile, or even returning visitors on desktop. So understanding the differences between that is really insightful to be able to plan your marketing strategy. Here's what the reports look like. So the one on the top is just the standard device performance report. And you can see this particular instance, mobile is heavily driving a lot of the sessions, making up 63% of total sessions during this period, but the desktop is contributing a larger share of revenue. Again, they're not atypical, but the interesting thing here is look at the transactions. Mobile actually contributes more percentage transactions than desktop. It's just the average order value of those transactions are lower than desktop. So desktop consumers have a bigger cart. And if you would add that secondary dimension of user type, you can see, again, just the differences between returning and new visitors. Again, really insightful data at a high level. And what this report really opens up, again, is just more questions, which any good report should provide you almost more questions than it does answers. Be able to determine if you are struggling on mobile, is your site mobile friendly? And just from a high level, but then even go a little bit further than that. So is your site taking a really long time to load? You can use a variety of tools. I listed a couple there to be able to understand what page load speed is. And is the user experience significantly slower on mobile than it is desktop? Is that contributing to your performance decline? And then according to this Google study, consumers are not willing to wait longer than 2 seconds for a page to load. Take that into account when you're looking at these page speed reports. Little pro tip that I put at the bottom is if you have a high instance of returning users who convert on desktop, set up a remarketing audience for the people who are not converting on desktop. So that could be somebody that was a new visitor on mobile. When they return to you, let's say via mobile, set up a remarketing audience. Again, this is just ways that you can get smarter with your advertising so you can get a little more custom tailored, a more tailored message. Then again, here is how you find this particular report template. The next report we're going to cover is called Closed Loop SEM Report. This report is really, really useful, but it's not the high level reports as the previous ones were. This is a little bit more in the weeds. It'll be able to determine what campaigns within your SEM campaign are driving growth, and again, which ones are not providing the growth that you want. But it's at one quick view, so it kind of takes all of the data between your AdWords and your GA, and it combines them. So you'll be able to tell you whether keywords that have a CPC that's really high are also contributing to a high revenue per click. And you'd be able to determine what keywords you're losing money on, which keywords you're making a ton of money on. This allows you to kind of adjust your bid optimization schedule a little bit better. And then you can just determine what campaigns are kind of driving all of the growth within your campaign, within your account. Here's what the report looks like. As you can see, it's many, many columns, but it does the job of combining the impression clicks, click-through rate, etc. information from AdWords into your Google Analytics and combining it with session-based data, revenue. So it provides like a nice little dashboard for you to be able to determine how your actual campaigns are performing. As you can see in this particular one, it's the revenue per click for many of these significantly outweighs the cost per click for that. So these can be construed as profitable campaigns. And if you want to find this report, here's where you go. The next one we're going to talk about is browser performance. The reason this is useful is, consumers are coming to your site on a variety of devices, as we covered earlier, but also a variety of browsers. So it can be your Chrome, your Firefox, your Safari, etc. And it really just kind of helps you understand how the users interact differently on those different browsers. But one of the best parts of it is you can be able to determine whether you have potentially something wrong with your site that a particular browser is unable to parse, the information about your site easily. Here's what the report looks like. As you can see, the browsers are listed on the left-hand side, and all session-based data here. But what we can see from this particular example is Safari. So Safari makes up 46% of sessions, but it only makes up 39% of revenue. So conversion rate's a little lower on Safari than it is on Chrome, IE, and even Firefox. So this is something what we would do here is look at the experience for Safari. What are consumers seeing? What is potentially wrong? And then really just kind of unpack that to be able to reduce friction. Here's some scenarios in which this report actually could be really helpful for you. Let's say your mobile Safari traffic is down significantly post a site relaunch. this would tell me instantly, let's look at the funnel. Let's make sure our checkout funnel is easily being able to be navigated and utilized by consumers on a mobile Safari browser. You could also look at the page load speed. Is it just taking too long to load that particular person on the mobile browser does not want to stick around? And then anytime you're doing a site launch, it's always important to do this report 30 to 60 days after. Really got to understand, especially if you launched like a report that's, utilizing a lot of new technology, you want to make sure it's not going to hurt the legacy browsers. So if you had a really high conversion rate from IE previously, and then all of a sudden it just plummets, this will be able to kind of give you a quick little, something's wrong, we got to fix this. And then the pro tip at the bottom, you can use Browser Stack or even the developer tools within Google Chrome, which is what we use most often, to be able to check browser compatibility. You can do it right within the browser, and you can check it for mobile and desktop. It's really, really important. The good news is you don't have to download this report. This report's already available. It's within the audience section of Google Analytics in a report named Browser and OS. A couple other pro tips. We've been spending a lot more time putting our reports into Google Sheets versus utilizing Excel. And the reason for that is this Google Analytics spreadsheet plugin or add-on. So what this actually does is it will be able to port data from Analytics directly into Sheets. And why this is useful is it will do it on demand as well as on schedule. So you can set this up, we call it smart automation, where it will be able to send the data from Google Analytics into the spreadsheet, and you can update this hourly, weekly, daily, monthly. They provide you a lot of benefit and a lot of options, and you can kind of set the time you want this to update. The reason we're doing a lot of this is building custom dashboards for clients to really give them the information they want without having to log into Google Analytics to find it. Another pro tip that I mentioned earlier, but just want to mention again, is spend some time in Google Search Console looking at your Search Analytics report. This tells you the actual queries in which people are using to get to your site. You should be looking at this all the time because it's going to give you a lot of keyword insight. And that's it. So thank you for your time. I hope these e-commerce Google Analytics reports are going to prove useful for you and your business. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email address is on the bottom, and I look forward to connecting with you. Thank you.